What up? What up? What up? What's going on, people? Another another time we show up. Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Whoa. Hey, how's everything going, man? What's happening, Stead?
What up? What up? What up?
Yeah, so hey people, it's Adolph J. Rocky. We got Conspiracy Brother. We back at it for another one, man. We're gonna try to bring you our content consistently on Fridays, and if we could do it in person, we feel it'd be even better. Today is a special show. We're kind of not talking about politics, so to speak, but we are talking about cultural issues, and as a segment, we're gonna refer to it as Freedmen Reacts, right? Because there's a lot of different things that goes on outside of the quote unquote reparations space or political space, but if you look at it from a freedman's lens, you can kind of dissect a lot of the dysfunction that is in society, right? If you really look, take it from a perspective of, hey, because our people have like really no wealth, and that's due to our you know our position in this country historically. um you'll have a better understanding. It's a better way, a world view understanding of why we're seeing these things that we're seeing, right? So that's my take on it. There, you want to kind of give them some summary of what we're going to be going over today.
Yeah, and kind of to kind of hit on what you just talked about. I think it's important for us to be able to contextualize some cultural issues in a way that makes sense for the Black community. For some people who don't see it immediately, like me and Brother J. Rocky was just talking earlier about the Ukraine video we did, 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a lot of pushback in the comments because people were saying, what this got to do with Black people? And 3 years later, almost 2 years later, you've seen some states in the U.S. allow for non-citizens to be police officers, which is something I talked about. You see situations where they're giving illegal immigrants from wherever, various countries, thousands of dollars in food assistance and housing and other types of federal benefits that they are not given to descendants of freedmen who might be in need, or American citizens in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Different programs. They are moving them into our neighborhoods, as I said they would. And they are, if you see what's going on in Chicago, what do they call it? Tren de Aragua or Tren de Agua. There's a Venezuelan gang in Chicago right now, and all the Black gangs, the Gangster Disciples, the Black Disciples, the Vice Lords, they like banding together to defend the block from these Venezuelan gangs who are trying to extort the Black citizens of Chicago, which is also something I said could happen as a result of these policies. Now, it hasn't been the Ukrainians, it has been the Venezuelans, but it's important for us to be able to understand that no matter what, if we may be wrong on small details, that overall the policies and the ramifications, having the opportunity to use a bit of foresight in whatever the context, it gives us the opportunity to make good decisions and plan for the future, maybe make a better plan next time. So with this same story or with certain cultural issues, it's important for us to look at them through a context that might help us to be more strengthened in our resolve or undergirded as we fight for reparations, or as we fight for better for our communities. Maybe, if we fight for better schools for our children, if we fight for better policies for our communities in general. And so we can go on. Today, as you can see from the title, is Freedmen Reacts, the Trophy Wife and Black Escapism. And I'm sure all of you know, it's got D joining us. Peace, D.
Okay, peace.
But
reparations.
I see that, I'm sure you all have seen the Trophy Wife. And, I've seen the Trophy Wife more than I probably would like to, if I'm being honest, just the whole story and everything about it. but I think it's important to kind of understand the dynamics of the trophy wife and what this whole the sprinkle because I was tempted to, we could kind of contemplate calling this like sprinkle something, or sprinkle meets reality or something, Black Girl Tragic,
right?
But the situation was still
it's still developing.
It's developing, and it's potentially still a tragic situation,
right?
That you don't want to trivialize. So we wanted to be, more considerate of the potential victims and the circumstances, and simultaneously recognize why things like this are happening. And this is also a story we talked about with that doctor. Remember that professor when he talked about Kamala, more black women. Black men should allow black women to marry white men so they could achieve their fullest potential. We talked about that. We had that whole about 2 or 3 episodes where we dealt with, the dynamics of marriage in America and racial politics. And so this is another, aspect of that escapism, right?
Right. Case in point.
Where you think you're going to marry out, even if it's to a black man, where you think you're going to marry out of what it means to be a black person in America.
A freedman, yeah.
So
exactly.
you want to pull up the screen share?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We got the screen share of
so before we go on, so before we allow it to play, there's a quick synopsis of the scenario. So what's going viral is that a woman who goes by the name of Isis, she has a YouTube channel that where she teaches other women how to basically practice hypergamy. Hypergamy is the hypergamy is the act of marrying up and above your social class, right? Primarily is focused on women. I guess men can also be hypergamous. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gender-based thing, but generally when it's talked about is usually in context to a woman becoming hypergamous, right? And she there's another lady who inspired her to go on this journey, her name is Shira 7, right? And she has this, she kind of reminds me of the one comedian that used to be like Shucky Ducky Quack Quack, right?
Oh, yeah,
like she'll make a statement or something, and he'd be like Chucky Ducky Quack Quack, you know what I'm saying? So her thing is sprinkle. So after her advice, don't date any brusties. If you have to go 50-50, that's dusty behavior. Sprinkle. This is just kind of a thing. So it's called sprinkle, and it actually was a reaction to that by men just kind of reversing the roles of some of these crazy statements. And it was drizzle, you know what I mean? So it's all part of these gender war dynamics that goes on primarily in the black spaces, right, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So this woman, in essence, she had this channel, from my understanding, for a year and a half or so, where she basically is vlogging her life as a quote unquote kept woman, right? And she goes on to come recently and expose that the alleged high value earning husband or what have you, she accused him of basically essaying his own daughters that they had together. She's so anyways, we can go ahead and just play it. We're gonna react to the things in the video. So this is another content creator, Riva TV, kind of breaking it down, the story or what and everything, as well as the counter to this, because it's things of this is a very moving thing. This was like as of Wednesday. This first time I'm seeing it hit up in my feed on viral. So without further ado, let's
and
roll the clip.
Let me just I'll have to do like a sound check. I just want to make sure the video plays with audio. So I'll have the video play just so I can make sure it plays. And so give me a second to make everything work.
come across Shira 7 on YouTube, and she completely changed my life. And she basically taught me what a high value man is and what to look for when.
So it is working. I'll rewind it just so we can get the video from the start.
I happened to come across Shira 7 on YouTube, and she completely changed my life. And she basically taught me what a high value man is and what to look for when trying to find a husband.
Oh God. Gosh.
What's up, guys?
Yeah. Brother J Rocky was saying fair use.
Fair.
But this is Reba TV, so she has pretty good content. A lot of it deals with the gender
relationships.
Relationships and gender issues in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
That's really been a really popular topic. I guess the last 6-7 years or so. It seems like. Also very popular on Twitter. I don't have Twitter. I haven't had Twitter in some years. So very popular on Twitter. But we want to shout out to the content creator. So you can also find the full video on her page.
Guys, it's your girl Riva, and I'm back again with another video. Listen, I have been sent this video on my Instagram multiple times of people wanting my reaction to this entire situation. So apparently this woman went by the name of the new trophy wife or the trophy wife, and she basically was a living, breathing example of all of, Sprinkle's ladies' teachings.
I happened to come across Shira 7 on YouTube, and she completely changed my life. And she basically taught me what a high value man is and what to look for when trying to find a husband.
Why is everyone spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers? Like, chill guys, just use Pi. It's a free Chrome extension that's actually...
I think that many women don't know how to identify what a successful man actually looks like. All right, ladies, let's talk about 5 signs you're dating a Dusty.
And apparently things ended up taking a turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press play. I have not watched this video at all. Like, I have not seen any parts of this video. I'm going to press play and we're going to watch it together. And I'm going to give you guys my full thoughts, my opinions, my feelings, my reaction to this entire situation.
I just want to kind of pause every so often, for the sake of fair use, just so we're not just streaming her content.
Yeah.
Straight up. But it's important to see.
Skip around.
Yeah, it's important to see how she's talking, right? Oh, you're dating a Dusty and all this stuff. This is the way that the conversation has been steered within our community. And when you look at the condition our community is in as a whole, we cannot afford to be divided up amongst ourselves in this way. We need to have a solid, as solid as we can of a cohesiveness between men and women within our community in order for us to have the kind of progress and change, fight for reparations, that we're looking for, any kind of outreach. We need a cohesiveness. And so this kind of disunity within our community, and I mean, I've been wanting to do a show about looking at, feminism, the roots of like third wave feminism, looking at Gloria Steinem and that whole, that picture she took with that lady, Dorothy, I forget her name, but she's actually Gabourey Sidibe's like great aunt or aunt.
Who was that?
Precious, the actress Precious.
Yeah.
You know that picture, Gloria Steinem, where she's with that lady, Dorothy, I forget her last name, but like they both doing like Black Power fist.
Yeah.
The black lady is Gabourey Sidibe's aunt, but Gloria Steinem actually was a CIA.
Right.
She worked for the CIA.
Right.
And she tried to lie about it for a real long time.
Right.
But, they use these white women, and you can see all through different admissions. It was actually a female member of Congress from Michigan who admitted that they put white women into the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
So that black women wouldn't have a leg up on white women. That was actually her words.
Right.
So
and black men as well, right?
Right.
At every turn, white women have use their whiteness. I mean, it's, you know, it was apparent even, you know, in this election, why, you know, the patriarchy, women are included in that, you know, their mates are included in that,
Right.
or what have you. You know, shortly after, I mean, a lot of the suffrage act had to deal with a lot of racism, right? Because it was like, okay, black men got the right to vote before white women did. And they publicly were admonishing white men for that and saying, you know, listen, we need to get the right to vote because, you know what I'm saying? We could be used, our numbers could be used in conjunction with yours against black men. And so this whole, you know, even when you translate that to this conversation, where black men and women are divided, and especially along the lines of economic lines, right? Like it's kind of like, you know, I'm trying to give a good analogy of when, you know, it would be like being mad at a lion for killing a gazelle, right? You know what I mean? You know, it's like that's in his nature, you know, or some sort of scenario where, or being mad at a child, right? You know that you lock them up in his room and then you know, don't allow them to use the bathroom, and then when they urinate on themselves, and then, you know, hey, well, why did you urinate on yourself? You're nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like this. So this country has specifically have robbed black men's, you know what I mean, and black women in general, black people, period, or freedmen, period, but specifically freedmen men, right? Of having the abilities and the means to, you know, have their own economy, at every turn, you know, have any agency at every turn, and then only for later on, you know, later on down the road, you know, women of this lineage to be like, well, you know, you're not a man because you don't earn this type of this, or you don't have this, like, you know, it'll be trying to like judge, you know, somebody who's, you know, that has been kept from reading, right? So we've been purposely locked out of these markets. We've been locked out of what it is to be an American fully and truthfully, right? And at every given turn, or when we finally are allowed to compete, it's like the race theory, you know what I'm saying? You know, or analogy. We're so far behind, you know what I'm saying? There's no way that we can catch up realistically. Hence, that's why we say, honestly, reparations is the only true way to get out of this, because it's you know, you may have onesie twosies that are, you know, Hussein Bolts that could make up the speed, or for whatever miraculous thing they just push them ahead to, you know, closer to the finish line, not by their own will, because they were just chosen to do so. But you know, this financial situation that we're all in, of this lineage, then to fault them for that, and criticize them for that, or use that as a weapon against them for that, is quite insidious at the end of the day. But a lot of people don't even know, you know, don't even have the numbers to know, you know what I'm saying, where we are economically and so on and so forth. And we're using these, like, you know, these post-industrial economic framework to try to, you know, shame people into, you know, or judge, shall I say, well, you know, if you're not earning $100 grand or more, then, you know, you're not a high value person, or, you know what I mean? If you can't pay 100% of the way, you know, then you're not, you know, that's not something I want, or whatever the case may be. That's not, you know, you're less desirable, or what have you. When you look at the statistics and you look at, you know, less than 10% of all people, regardless of race, gender, makes over six figures, you know what I'm saying, in this country. You know what I mean? The average salary is, you know, for white Americans, black, irregardless, is 50 something thousand. You know what I mean? We've had there's been a depressed income has been depressed since the 70s. You know what I mean? Versus, you know, inflation. All of the money, 90% of stocks are owned by the top 1 or 10% of Americans. Nobody has wealth like that. You look in this this whole idea of, you know, getting rid of rich man's, you know, or wealthy man so you can, you know, live the kept life is super unrealistic. And especially if you put it in a black male context, is even worse. But it's just off. Go ahead.
Yeah, bro. And if, you know,
can they see us or
yeah, they can see us.
You gotta see that. Okay.
Yeah, they
I
can
just didn't know if
see
they
us.
got us. Okay.
Yeah, it's really divorced from reality
Right.
because, you know, when you sit and you think about the historical relationship of black people to this country, black women have always worked, you know, and so when you hear or you see black women, especially like post this election, you see black women, oh, our rights are being rolled back and whatever, and it's like, you have no historical context that you viewing this country through and your relationship to it. Black women have always worked. Black women have never had any rights. I mean, you know, historically, obviously we've had rights, but I'm saying that to mean this is not new territory. You shouldn't be surprised if things happen, but you also shouldn't be, you know, oh, this is fascism, whatever. Like we've said on this show before, black people have lived under a state of fascism in this country our whole time being here.
Right.
With you know, our rights have been completely disregarded. It was a rule of law from the Supreme Court that, you know, black people had no rights that white people were duty bound or obligated to abide by. And that's almost a direct quote. I believe that was Talmadge with the not Dred Scott. Was that Dred Scott, right?
It could have been, yeah.
And so, because that was the Plessy versus Ferguson, established separate but equal.
Right.
And so, you know, we need to understand that. You need to be able to understand the historical context of your relationship with this country and not be surprised. You can still be upset. You can still want to do better. But the way people have behaved is just so, to me, unnecessary, and it's unsettling because what it shows is that you have, like I said, no historical grounding or foundation with how things operate.
Right.
But you know, we can get back to
let's get back to it.
Hi, trophies. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. If you hear any noise in the background, that's the new baby. A lot has happened since the last time that I recorded. I think the last time you guys saw me, I was in my second trimester, and yeah, I think I did post an update in the community section when the baby was born, and I said that I would be back soon, and that was a few months ago now.
Okay, we're going to try to fast forward and see if we can find when she kind of gets into the story of what happened.
Can you believe that this guy in this picture is me? I didn't realize how bad my hair loss was until I've seen the transformation.
It's like sad to even say like I could get past some of these things. I don't even know where to start. 6 weeks ago, I was changing my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive. And immediately, my first thought was, did someone touch her?
Oh God. Gosh. So I asked her, I said, baby, did somebody touch you? And she ended up saying it was Daddy.
Okay, so another just jump into, just enough to get some more context. She, the trophy wife, married a guy that was like 20 years older than she was. Maybe we should play that video. That kind of goes, the Aberrant Preach one, because the reaction.
The first one?
The update, because it kind of goes more into, kind of goes more into it, and it's faster.
Okay.
But they have 3 children together. I'm not for sure what the sex of the last baby was, but she had 2 children prior to the marriage. And they subsequently had, she had 2 boys. I believe it was with the same man. Not for sure. They got married within, a very short period of time. I want to say less than 2 weeks, or once it was discussed.
The update.
Yeah, the update, and then scan it. Yeah, that's when she talks about the story about how they met. Yep. Maybe right there. Go ahead.
Let me share. So I'll share this tab. I got to check the audio again to make sure that we can hear it. And then, let's see.
Man, it's not good to put all your eggs in one basket, but we had a great first date, and I think he ended up asking me to be his girlfriend on the first date.
I'll rewind it a little bit.
That's cliche. Just from our first date, it just felt natural. I felt like enough age gap for me to vibe with. I think the second person that I matched with was the man that I'm married to now, my husband. My husband and I had.
Yes, social, truly. That's self-admitted.
And just another detail that's really important here. She was with the father of her kids from 17 till about 24, did one Christmas by herself and said, I'm changing everything.
I'm done.
Okay, let's keep watching.
So I ended up taking my sister's advice and signing up for eHarmony. And I think the second person that I matched with was the man that I'm married to now, my husband. My husband and I have a 20-year age gap.
You've got potential for a new career. You know it, we know it.
Earn a Google Career Certificate to get the skills to get you there. With Google.
And if the more you
and he was not the first older man that I dated. I actually dated someone like 10 years older than.
So that's important to understand. She said there's a 20-year age gap. Now, I've seen this clip so far, but her first child she had when she was 17.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if her second child is with the same person, but I think she was like 19 or 20 with the second child. First child is 17.
So it's only a 2-year age gap between
the first two. It's like,
okay.
And she chose to have a second child, she said in this video. And then she met her husband, as Aberrant Preach said before he wound it. She met her husband. She was about 24. He was 44. 20-year age gap.
A lot of people have told me not very mature for my age. So someone 10 years older than me just wasn't a big enough age gap for me to vibe with.
Did she say someone 10 years my age wasn't enough of an age gap for me to vibe with? So she needed someone much older, according to herself.
Hey, now the funny, crazy thing is, like, me and my wife, we literally have a 10-year age gap. You know what I'm saying? But that's wild to say, to me, like,
you're seeking out somebody older than 10 years.
Well, I mean, Yeah, and it's a lot. And as we go through some of the analysis and other videos, but what's her mentor, her video
Shira
mentor?
7.
Yeah, Shira 7. That's her tactic, which would make sense though, you know, in all actuality, because a man's earning potential is at the highest in his 50s to 60s, right? You know, if this was your goal, is to look for a person that is going to be able to foot the bill, that's probably the person you're going to ultimately need to get with. Someone that's 24 is not going to, you know, on average, irregardless, you know, unless they're like really wealthy, have wealthy parents, right, and are connected, or they're some sort of athlete or entertainer, you know what I mean? You're someone at the age 24 starting out is not going to be able to freaking, you know what I'm saying, fund a whole lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like the age when that was available was when we were still you know, you could go into the factories straight out of high school. You know, you had living, you know, wages were set up to where there was only one, the man was only one house. You know what I mean? It was only one income, right? That and it was enough, you know, the economy, things were more affordable, things weren't as high as they are, the dollar had more earning power. You know, a lot of these things that we've talked about in previous shows, where you know of the nuclear family, right? You know, mom, dad, you know, however many kids, 2.5 kids or whatever. But see, if you don't understand this economy and you understand what has been done over a period of time, all of our manufacturing, those union jobs, right, have been depressed. You know what I'm saying? Manufacturing was sent overseas by the elite ruling class. You know what I'm saying? Immigration was brought into the country that further depressed wages, right? You have the, you know, and specifically to our story, you had the prison to school pipeline, you know, a situation and complex, right, that were brought on by both Republicans and Democrats alike, hence Joe Biden, 1994 crime bill, you know what I mean? All these things have, you know, so when we did have that situation where that was actually realistic for middle class to working class people, to where, you know, the husband worked and the wife could stay at home, or what have you, when we did have this, you know, 50s, 60s, you know, and obviously decades prior, right, where that was, where you could have that situation or what have you, by and far doesn't exist for anybody in this country outside of the ultra wealthy, you know what I mean? And honestly, what funny enough, a lot of people, you know, the thinking of, you know, Rosie the Riveter when women started entering the workforce was because of World War II. By and large, it was, but really when women started really getting into the workforce was in the 70s and 80s, and it wasn't because, you know, in mass, you know what I mean? We really white women, but like you were saying, you know, black women have always been, you know, part of the workforce, you know, since the time we came here from slavery on forward, right? They were black, you know, outside of maybe some of the higher boule, you know what I mean? But ultimately, black, you know, far and large, the mass majority of us, you know, come from sharecroppers, you know what I mean? You know, things, you know, people of that nature, domestic servants, you know, there's no, it's not by happenstance that a lot of these industries that, you know, a lot of these things that are predominantly done by black people, even to this day, beauty, the beauty industry and services like barbers, hairdressers, right? We were that in slavery. There's you know what I'm saying? There's no magical reason why we dominate a lot of these fields. You know what I'm saying? You know, most black restaurants, right? You know what I mean? We were cooks, you know what I'm saying? Because we were forced to be to our you know, to our you know, obviously slave masters, right? You know, there's no mystery why we still, most of the black businesses that are around are in the services industry, right? None whatsoever. I mean, even with the Jeffersons, right? They were trying to show a positive story of, hey, moving on up. What was his business that George Jefferson was in? Cleaners. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know what I mean? Many blacks were wash people. We did the, you know what I mean? It's a through line to a lot of stuff that goes back to that time frame, you know what I mean, post-slavery and so on and so forth. So I forgot my larger point in all of that, but ultimately there's a lot of this perversion that we were seeing is linked to a lot of historical issues that we've had from the very beginning. Instead,
and I mean, when you look at as you were talking about women in the workforce,
right,
and how that increased, and you looked at immigration and all those things. I was talking to my wife earlier.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a situation where you create a desire among women. I was actually watching a video of Elizabeth Warren from 2000. She was discussing her book, The Two-Income Trap, where she was talking about how when you have a two-income household, what tends to happen is you upgrade your lifestyle until it becomes a two-income lifestyle. So where at one point in time, as you were saying, a family lived on a 52 check or whatever, 26 check a year household, they upgrade to a 104 check or 52 check a year household, and they gotta buy the newest cars, they gotta buy the biggest house, they gotta have the nicest vacations or throw the nicest parties, and so eventually the lifestyle becomes such a burden that two incomes is a mandate upon the family. And so that drives up the cost of living, right? When you want to move to the suburbs and you want to send your kids to a private school, that drives up the cost of private schools. That drives up the cost of housing. That drives up the cost of foods.
Right, supply and demand.
And the elites and the wealthy understand that, on top of how they know that all that disrupts the unity and the cohesiveness of a family, as we talked about earlier. If mom is working, if dad is working, if they're both tired when they get home, there's going to be less opportunity for the parents to be involved in the children's lives in a meaningful way. Not impossible. It's not impossible. But it becomes difficult because now you got two tired parents. Whereas in a traditional situation, you may only have the one. Right. And so, as we have talked about, and I have wanted to really, like I said, I wanted to get into the way that the third wave specifically, but feminism in general, has been influenced, in my opinion, based on some research that I've done by the elites in order to destabilize working class and lower middle class families. For example, in the 20s, in the early 20th century, it was illegal for women to smoke cigarettes. They could not legally smoke tobacco. What happened is the tobacco industry, in order to create the demand for women to start smoking after it became legal, because I guess, they realized, hey, we got 50% of the population who's not smoking.
Right.
Even if some of them are sneaking and smoking,
right,
we don't have 50% of the population is not smoking to the level that they would be if they were smoking. What they allowed to, what they advertise directly to women is, these are freedom sticks. Your husband, your father, your brother, your boyfriend, well, they didn't have boyfriends, but they don't want you to smoke. Show them that you're just as capable as a man. You have as much freedom. And they call them freedom sticks and want women smoke. And so look at the perversion of, what we would call free will, that you would use it to manipulate somebody to poison themselves with this product. Now, this is not a moral, I'm not making a moral or value-based judgment on cigarettes or tobacco products or anything. I'm just saying objectively, with the knowledge we have now, we know what tobacco and cigarettes do. We know the kind of chemicals they put in them. But they use that in order to sell more cigarettes.
Right.
And that's just a simple example. And so, as you said, Rosie the Riveter, you know, this idea that it was all because of the war effort and this desire for a robust American defense at home is only partially true. I mean, you know, if I put my conspiracy brother Tim Kufi on, and we get into even why the U.S. got involved with World War II, you know, we'd have a whole different show.
Right.
And so, you know, but yeah, you know, we need to be aware of all these and how they fit together,
right,
and understand the fuller context. And what I think you were hinting at is the reality of what it means to be Black, what it means to be working class, or lower middle class, or just getting by, or poor in this country, and what that means, and the unrealistic nature of these internet relationship gurus and love gurus who will tell you to only look for a man who can provide you with this, or only talk to a man who will pay all of this, and if he don't, he's a dusty. When in reality, there is no, and I say there is no, obviously there are some, but the vast majority of people in this country,
right,
are working poor.
Right.
Whether we have degrees or not, whether we have graduate degrees or not, you know, whether we live very, you know, grandiose and ostentatious lifestyles, or whether we live frugally and penny pinch and budget and save, we're all struggling to get by in various ways and shapes and forms. But the internet and all these different illusions that you can put online give the opportunity for people to portray themselves in any way that they want to, you know?
Right.
So I think that's the bigger point you were trying to make.
Yeah. Oh, you know, yeah. Also, I kind of remember a good bit back to it, talking about the 70s. So yeah, a lot of women entered the workforce more so in the 70s and 80s, and that was to help out the household, right? Wasn't really to be quote unquote independent, but it was to help their husbands. And because, you know, basically the, you know, things that were costing more, wages stagnated. You know what I mean? You needed women to come into you needed women to help, you know. Now you had to have your wife to help you, because the man by himself couldn't, because, you know what I'm saying, all of the things, you know, that would allow him to do so were being depressed. And then when you have more workers on the you know, in the market for employment, then now you could suppress wages as well. You know what I mean? So where you would have had like a limited amount of, you know, people to do, there were certain jobs that, like, you know, for instance, being in a bank teller, you know what I'm saying, that was a man's job. Women, you know what I mean, like, you know, there were certain occupations that were only done by men, but over time, you know, when women started entering the force, you know, the workforce or what have you, now they're doing, you know, doing clerical jobs, they're doing different other type jobs or what have you. Now you could pay them less, you know what I mean? You could pay less for that worker, right? Because now there's more demand for a job than there was supply of jobs, right? And then also the deindustrialization of America, so on and so forth. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons why we are at the place where we are now economically, you know, as a general, and then also for Freedmen is even more specific. And you know, they say, hey, if America catches the cold, right, Black people catch the flu. You know what I mean? Because we've always had a vicarious situation in this country. But go ahead and we can continue on.
You needed that.
So when I met my husband, I knew right away almost, and people say that, but it was definitely true. I know it sounds cliche. Just from our first date, it just felt natural. I felt like I just had known this person already. It was so comfortable. I think we both were kind of just dating different people at the time, and it's not good to put all your eggs in one basket. But we had a great first date, and I think he ended up asking me to be his girlfriend on the first date, and I said I would think about it. Then I had gotten into a serious relationship with somebody, and I ended up falling for the girlfriend trap. But that guy had really been investing a lot into me and doing a lot for me, so I kind of felt like I had to agree to be his girlfriend because he asked me multiple times, and I finally agreed. I could tell that he was really just putting up with my kids. He didn't really embrace them. And I just like packed all my stuff and left. And it was crazy because the next day, my now husband, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I told him, I just got out of a relationship, and I kind of told him a little bit about why. And he was telling me like, "Oh, those are my boys." And he had genuinely really connected with my kids, and he was not the kind of man that would just be nice to them to get to me. Like, it was very genuine.
So, just to listen to the way
it's a wild story.
Right. Look at the way she's bouncing around relationships. You have 2 kids, right? And so, you see a lot of people online say, "Oh, don't date single moms," or boys, people saying all this stuff about single moms and stuff. I'm not going to make any statements about whether or not a person should get involved with single moms. It's not the point of me bringing this up. But you have children, and they are vulnerable.
Right. 2 boys.
You are just having all these different people in their life, even if it's just 2 guys, even if it's just 2, that quickly you have moved around to different men who are involved with your children. And then this new guy says, well, first, on the first date, he says, "I want you to be my girlfriend." That's strange, because how do you know you like somebody this much, this quickly? But then, as soon as you break up with this one guy, he contacts you. Don't know how often. That's not stated. So we don't know if he's been hitting you up in the DMs and you just have been leaving him on red or what. But as soon as you break up with this one guy, you move back to this other guy. And then you're saying, he's just so genuine and I know him so well and all this other stuff. And with the greater context of the story, which we saw earlier, where she's saying that, he potentially touched his own children, you don't know the man at all. Now, full disclosure, there seems to be some inconsistencies in her story that don't really seem to line up with the facts of what she's talking about. His niece, and I don't know if we have that video queued up. I think we do.
It's the same one with on River TV.
Yeah.
You got to move up to like 35 minutes.
So, would I keep playing this first?
Yeah. Just go.
Okay.
Just go.
After that isn't even the most shocking part. She went on a couple of dates with him,
and they already met the kids. They already vibe. They already vibe with the kids.
Okay.
Yo.
Sorry. No. I don't care. Victim blame, whatever. Okay, let me say this real fast. All right. You're a parent. You're dating strangers. That's cool. You're not supposed to invite them to meet your kids. They're not even your partner.
After a couple of dates.
Oh, my days. I'm sorry, but no. Okay. See, this is the thing.
Yeah. And I want to say, as a parent, it is. As a parent, I wouldn't be comfortable having my kids around new people like this who I wasn't.
This man, you got to get back to her story.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm just saying to skip. Yep, there we go. Go back to.
As a parent, I wouldn't feel comfortable with my kids being around somebody new like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so for her to just be so cool with it, oh, it's no big deal. He was so good. Like it gives the impression of just like a homeless, hungry, needy, down on your luck woman. You know what I'm saying? Like a real just sleep on the couch. I don't have nowhere to go, nothing else going on for me. And so while she's talking about dusty this, that's a dusty, that you giving off a dusty vibe.
Right.
Since we're talking. That's, if you know what I'm saying? Like that's what that energy gives off. Oh, that's not the kind of thing as a parent that I would ever do with my own children, to have them around a person in such an intimate way, in such an,
But here's what I'm going to say. Assuming that what she's saying is true. Because even in the part that we show with the Abba and Preach reaction, right? Because the way she's telling the story, it doesn't even make sense, because she's saying that, okay, they went on a date, and then, he asked her to be her boyfriend on the first date.
Which was weird for a grown man to say.
Right.
Anyway.
We talk about
40 years old.
44 years old.
You know what I'm saying? 20-year-old to be a girlfriend?
On the first date. And then second, but hold on. But then she stated that she was seeing multiple people. Then, you know what I mean? And then, then she, got into the girlfriend trap. Right, again, making herself out to be a victim. I mean, a girlfriend trap. Either you're gonna be a girlfriend or not. And then now she's living with him, right? And then as soon as that ends, right, according to her, we just following the beats of her story. As soon as that ends, then her husband, will be her husband, right? Just so happened to hit her up, and then now she's on this side. Now, what thing? And when she brings up the fact that, she's leaving the last guy because he didn't vibe, or, he didn't fully accept. She didn't go into any details about that. Give us an example. You know what I mean? We just supposed, this is how I know when people.
Everybody, remember last video what you said to me? That kind of person
I had dated was he really embraced the fact that I had.
Man.
Picture this. You have.
So she didn't give any details. She just stated some this bland, statement, right? He just wasn't. I think he was only accepting the boys because he wanted to get to me. She didn't give an example, nothing whatsoever. She didn't say what specific thing or anything. Then also shady in the story. Okay, then all of a sudden when she, the husband, would-be husband, right, contacts her. He claims that those boys are his. So that, but she never stated that. How, So our Apple just automatically assumed that, well, if that was the case, then he must have met her kids after this first date. But she doesn't explain that. Right. So he's making an assumption. He's filling in for her the part that she actually left out. And this is how I know, like, I don't trust this lady's story. This is what people who lie, that's what they do. They leave out information, it's choppy, you know what I mean? Half truth, half lies, right? There's no specificity in the story. It doesn't make sense. There's time gaps, there's jumps, you know what I mean? This is how you know when somebody is something skeptical, you have to be skeptical about what they're actually saying, because like you said, you get all confused because it's when you have to make something up, you just make it up. When there's something that's like, hey, when somebody can tell you, hey, this happened on this, point 1, 2, 3, maybe they may forget something, but like crucial things, because the way she presented the story was that they went on the date and then she didn't hear from them really. They weren't in any type of contact. She didn't say that he met her kids or not. Apple's just assuming that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, oh, those are my boys. Well, how would he, he's just making a logical conclusion, but she never stated that, right? And again, and at what point did he meet her boys? Before she got with the boyfriend, and the last boyfriend.
And so there's really not a good way to look at this situation,
right,
and say it makes sense, because if he met the boy sooner, before, early, and then you started dating a new guy, that's still weird that you introduced your kids to this man.
Right. So that's multiple men. You would think at this point, if you was dating two dudes, at minimum two dudes, and they seeing you with two guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, what?
And if they met somehow within close proximity to you breaking up with the old guy, or the new old guy,
right,
and getting with the old guy, then that's still weird, because you had too quickly of contact between two different guys. And the way she said, oh, that's a very needy way to talk, because you think that's endearing for somebody to want to take care of your children. You know what I'm saying? Me and my wife talk about it all the time. If my kids weren't my kids, I wouldn't be here. Because sometimes I want to hang them.
Right.
I want to hang them on a shower hook in the bathroom and leave them there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they're a headache, and kids are a headache, and they're not special. I was the same way. I know. I see in them some of the stuff I used to do as a kid. I know it.
Right.
So some of the stuff that they do, I know I used to do it. And so I know it's a punishment. It's a cosmic punishment on me for all the people that I annoyed and jumped on and whatever. But that don't change the fact that if they weren't my kids, if they didn't look like me and act like me, and it was just some lady I was interested in talking to, who I didn't love, who I wasn't married to, but just a lady I wanted to get to know, and her 3 kids. And every time I saw her, I had to see them, and they was jumping around and hanging around and on me. Couldn't handle it. I just couldn't. You see what I'm saying? And so for her to have the expectation that it's normal for a man, again, I'm not even saying that he's guilty of anything. I'm just saying on the face of it, the expectation that you think that a man would want to willingly just take on your children along with you is a lot. And you should be more guarded and protective of your children, because ultimately, apparently, you're their only parent that is involved in their lives. And she actually hints on that the father wasn't involved at all. So you're the only one you're the only active parent in their life. They don't have another support system.
Again, allegedly, because again, it's alleged. I don't believe anything this woman says. What? I swear to God, I don't believe any. And you have to also understand, I've gone through this personally. You know what I'm saying? And not being accused of touching no kid, but I've gone, you know what I mean? But I've gone through in previous relationships, women lying on me, you know what I mean? Like I said, telling half truths, blah, 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 because just to make themselves look better in the situation. Who's to say? Why did she leave the father? They were together for 7 years. She didn't go into that detail, right? She just left. Why? She didn't go into that, right? Who's to say that the father wanted to be part of the we're making assumptions. You know what I'm saying? That the father of her 2 boys is who we were talking about, wanted to be in his 2 boys' lives, but she's running, galleon off with this one, that one, and the third. He might not even know what the location is. You know what I'm saying? We know plenty. I personally have been in situations where, hey, if you're not doing what they want you to do, then guess what? I'm gonna pull back access to your kids. I've had that, you know what I'm saying? In some form of fashion, you know what I mean? And the state allows that to occur, and we as a society allow that to occur because, somebody way back in the 1600s said that a child should be with the mother. You know what I mean? And through English common law, when you have a separation of any type, let alone people who are married, especially you ain't got no standing if you're not married, you know what I mean? The child is placed with the mother automatically. You know what I'm saying? So like, who's to say? You know what I mean? But like, who's to say? But that's my position on it. It's too many gaps. It's a lot of not a lot of specificity in her story. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. And also the pure fact. Now, this part, obviously, she's using this and selling herself to sell a dream to, I guess, her subscribers, who she called trophies, right? But she's trying to get some sort of notoriety. I don't know. She was trying to flip that into some commercial success from it. But it's obvious a person that loves attention, and that but okay, that's one thing. But to expose this and put this story out that your husband, right? Even if it is 100% true that your husband was, essaying his own children. She didn't make the claim that he did anything to her 2 older boys, but to his own children, right? His daughters. Okay. is beyond crazy. It's beyond like, why would for clicks and for a GoFundMe? You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that you would expose. You know what I mean? Like I said, even if it's completely 100% true, you're seeing the blowback that she's getting, you know what I'm saying, by saying, hey, look, based on the stuff that she gave, the story that she gave about him. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, man, at all. And to me, it smells of somebody. When I saw this, I said, this is the brick lady. It's the brick lady, y'all. If you guys are not familiar with who the brick lady was, there was this woman who was of Ethiopian, Somalia background, right? She accused black men, right? Who was, in this case, this was a phantom. And in this case, it wasn't anybody real. This woman has some sort of condition where her face puffs up, and she got on YouTube, or got on social media, claiming that a black man hit her in the face with a brick, and by her face, was swollen, right? And it appears that the swelling came from being hit with the brick. She does this spontaneously, just goes on Instagram Live, right? And then accused the men of the standbyers, right, outside of the club, that they saw this occur and that they didn't do anything to stop him from doing so, right? Mm-hmm. And the man in the video said, "What? Who? Where was it? What were you talking about?" Come to find out, raised a bunch of money, you know what I'm saying? Started the whole, we hate black men, you know what I mean? Black men are this and that, are violent, so on and so forth. Now, mind you, when somebody gets hit with a brick, how do you have the wherewithal to even get on Instagram? This is where I'm saying, this is why I make these conclusions. It came to make a long story short. It came that this lady has some condition that where her face puffs up like this. She intentionally made this story up just so she can get money on GoFundMe or what have you. She had done something similar in the past in a different locale. I think this was in Texas where she did it this last time. It was investigated. It was found out that this was completely made up. And guess what? She's being charged for making a false police report, and also for trying to, they had to give all the people who donated to the money back. But basically for her, trying to raise money on a false thing, right? Which is kind of like some sort of theft charge, I guess, in a way, to make things simple or what have you. This to me reeks of the same type of thing, right? Who would go onto the internet, with something as heinous as this, right? To again, to air out their dirty laundry, you know what I mean? Who would do that, unless it was someone like it was, again, somebody who craves attention, you know what I mean? That, and of course you got to, make this type of stuff up, to make the story juicy and to get the sympathy of the people, to get the money. Go ahead, Stead. I think we've covered enough of this, at least. But
you want to go to the one with his niece?
Yeah, we go, which is the first one, River TV.
Well,
and then it's at the 35 mark. It's at the 35 mark.
And so what I wanted to say, since you brought it up,
yeah,
it's important
right there.
It's important, I think, to understand one thing you said is
the new EB-5 visa is back. 2020.
You talked about the brick lady and all this issue with fraud.
Right.
But the one thing is important to understand within the context of the show is escapism.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're trying to do, right? I don't know if this woman is black. They say her name is Isis. And somebody says the niece here is going to say her name is Paloma. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if she's Hispanic, because I know Paloma is like a Hispanic name as far as I know. don't know if she's Hispanic. She looks black. I'm sure a lot of people may think she's black, given the state of the current elections and all this stuff.
Right.
If anybody's black,
right,
as long as they got
You know,
brown
whatever
skin,
happened
they're
in the
black.
situation, I have not.
So, you know, who knows? Okay. But when you're bouncing around, going from man to man to man, you listen to the Sprinkle Lady, you're talking about Dusties, trying to teach people how to be a trophy wife. You marry a guy after meeting him for a year with 2 kids. Like one of the videos she has, you know, my journey from being a single mother to a trophy wife in a year's time.
In a year's time, yeah.
You know, you're trying to escape the realities of blackness. You're trying to escape the realities of blackness and single motherhood, right? Those 2 variables together, that either of those variables alone, and that's what you're trying to do. And you're trying to teach other women to live this delusion with you. You know, like you said, a lot of people, it's a desire for attention or whatever. Since and you know, this may appear hypocritical, but because the access to cameras and microphones and everything is so easy nowadays,
right, the platform is so.
You have people who they can share and they desire to have compliments on their appearance or on their thoughts and on their ideas in order to boost their own self-confidence. And so this is what she's trying to do. Everybody wants to have a fan club where they've got followers, you know, trophies and whatever. And I really, you know, I've talked to people about this. I do this show really for the opportunity to leave something of memory for my family whenever I leave this earth. For them to remember me by, for them to remember their father, their uncle, their brother, their son. If I should have an untimely exit, they can remember my thoughts and my views. When my children get older, they have the opportunity to see what their dad was like. If something should happen where I'm not able to walk or talk in the same way that I am now or think, they can hear what their father thought when he was young and semi-able-bodied and semi-present of mind. And they can try to take and glean any knowledge or information or perspective that I have to give or that I had to give over the course of my life. And this is like an opportunity for a diary and a dialogue and sharing the thoughts and opinions of freedmen in the Midwest on YouTube, right?
For
we can tell
posterity, right?
Yeah,
They call it.
That's what the point of this is. I'm not really, you know, I'm not trying to have a fan club. I'm not trying to necessarily become, you know, the next big thing. I would like to be able to hopefully give some information and some knowledge. You know, we would like the show to be impactful in a positive way, to inform and educate people, to wake people up, to push the reparations conversation, along with all the other people who are pushing reparations, to push the political education conversation, to push the historical conversation, right? The historical education conversation would be fantastic. But, you know, we're not sitting here trying to create, turn ourselves into demagogues. You know, that's not what the objective is. It just isn't. We don't have like a vast social media presence where we're sitting out there trying to churn out content in order for you to you know, have some kind of like cult of personality over us. This is really just trying to get, you know, good information out in a way that we think is useful and in a way that we think is not happening in other places. Also for posterity. So I'm going to continue this clip, and this is going to be the husband's niece with some information.
Not seen those videos as well, so we're going to go ahead and watch it. I'm going to press pause and play, and then we're going to react to it together.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dee, and I am the niece of the trophy wife's husband. Now, I know you know who the trophy wife is because she's been going up and down my timeline for the last couple of days. Her name is Isis, or Paloma, which is her real name. This lady is completely insane. Let's just start from there. background story. Her and my uncle got together really quick. From what I've been seeing and what I've been told, she thought that she was getting a come up with my uncle. But then when things didn't go her way and she pretty much seen that she could no longer hide the things that she was doing behind closed doors, she ended up trying to find a different route, which was to come on here and lie to you all and tell you that her daughter had been touched by her dad, which that is not the case. Her daughter had been touched by her son.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, wait, hold on a second. Hold on. Time out. Too many things.
So, Reva's going to say something, but I want to say something before she does. If you listen to this story, you can say, well, of course she'll defend her uncle. But as of now, all we have from both sides of this story is hearsay. We don't have any police report or evidence of police reports filed. We don't have anything from either party besides hearsay. This person says SA happened, and this person here says SA did not happen, and that the lady was kind of a scammer and she was trying to get a come up. And if anything, signs more so point to that being the case than not. Now, they could both be true. You could be a scammer and your child could have been SA. That's also possible. Not discounting that. But when we're looking at credibility, the scammer has no credibility. And if it appears, and like I've said, it appears that you're the scammer because you bounced around from man to man to man, your words, not mine, and you've exposed your children to these different men in these different ways. You said, oh, I felt like I'd known my husband for so long. And then you come and say he's a monster and didn't say it in the video we watched.
Right.
But she said her husband committed SA against her 4 times within the first month of their marriage or dating or something.
And think about this. Again, this is why it doesn't make a lot of sense. You made a whole, so if that occurred within the first first few months of their marriage, then you put on this, if that's, let's say that's true. We're gonna take it, we're gonna just go by her word, that's true. Then you go on for 1.5 years singing his praises about how he was a trophy wife. Not only that, then how he's a high value man, and therefore by him being a high value man, then that makes you a better woman for being able to attain this or obtain this high value man. You teaching other people how to get a high value man that quote unquote SA'd you 4 times within months of your marriage, right? Not only that, then you also have 3 additional children with him after these alleged SA events. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Like, if that's not the cognitive dissonance, you know what I'm saying? Where you can have it on one hand, this guy was doing this, this type of super harmful things to you, but then you can separate that and get over that and then sing his praises and show how and then elicit other women to do like you have done, right? It just doesn't make sense, bro.
At best, what it looks like is you're complicit in your children's harm,
right?
Because you have put them in a position where they are. I mean, are they alone with this man, their father? Are your sons alone with this man? You see what I'm saying? Even if they're not, you don't appear to be an adequate security against this man. And so this is a situation, you put on this facade for the internet and you project this image. I'm living a high life and all this and all that. And the reality is you get SA, so you say, so allegedly,
if we take what you saying is true,
you get SA by a guy 4 times and you stayed with him the whole time and had children with him. 3.
3.
So, again, no, this is not a desire to victim blame, but it's understanding that there are no easy ways out of this, right? You're not going to sprinkle or drizzle or dusty or whatever your way out of being black in America. We need a robust reparations program. Right? None of these slogans or any of this stuff is going to do it. It's not going to happen. So I'll keep playing.
Have been talked about so far. Wait a second. Let's start with the beginning. So she's saying that they got together really quick. Again, I've never seen any of these videos. This is the things I always talk about. You need to vet for a long time. You need to know this person. That's why when people clown people for dating people for 3, 4, 5 years, I've never been a part of that wave. I've never had that. You guys can go back to previous videos where I've talked about it. Because again, you need to spend time and be around this person in a certain space to truly see them in all different facets so that you can know them. Next thing is that, the conversation being that she, was looking for a come up. Again, if you're following Sprinkle Lady's advice, they always talk about it. She's a financial advisor, not a relationship coach, right? So what does that mean? It is teaching women how to get the bag, how to secure the bag, not to find good husbands, find good men, have everlasting long relationships. It's how to find somebody who's the weakest link, who will pay all your bills and allow you to stay home. That's all that she talks about. So if that woman was a devout, person following Sprinkle's advice, obviously it was a come up. Now, for this woman.
And just to pause here. So essentially, it's the Sprinkle Lady. I don't watch any of her content. I've seen clips, and we got a clip of her here. But what she's saying is the Sprinkle Lady teaches a woman to be a user. That's what she said. That's what she teaches. Again, I've never watched her content like that, so I don't know if she's got some variety of things that she tries to teach her audience to do to improve their lives. But this is what this woman, Reva TV, has said, that the Sprinkle Lady teaches you to be a user. I'm putting what she said in a nutshell. She teaches the women to be users. Get the weakest link man who will pay for everything. And, I've talked about this on this show before, and it's something, our family says it's kind of like an inside joke. It's not a joke, but the lady Helen Baylor, she's a gospel singer. She used to do like disco in the 70s and stuff. She was like a backup singer.
Right.
And she got this album. It's like a live album, if I'm not mistaken. And she talks about how she was doing cocaine in the 70s. And she said she met a guy and he gave her some cocaine for free. And then she says in the video, in the song, she says, how many of you know it wasn't for free?
Right.
Because there's always our family, we always, it's like an inside joke we have.
Right.
How many of you know it wasn't for free?
Right.
And so with this, nobody is letting you take advantage of them for nothing.
Right.
Bill Withers, the song Use Me.
Use me to use me up.
Right. And he said at the end, talking about you using people, it all depends on what you use. It ain't too bad the way you're using me, because I sure am using you to do the things you do.
Right.
You see what I mean?
No even exchange is no robbery.
It's transactional.
Right. It's a transaction.
Just because you think you're getting over on me doesn't mean that you are.
Right.
And just because you don't think I'm getting over on you doesn't mean
I'm not.
That I'm not.
That I'm not. Right. Right.
And so you got a man who you thought was just some dummy or some square, because the Sprinkle Lady apparently directed you to get the weakest link man to let you sit in the house and who would buy you everything. And it has called, allegedly by your words, which appear to be, spurious at best. Apparently, allegedly, by your words, have caused your family great turmoil.
To say that she knows for a fact that didn't happen If you did not live in the house home, if you were not there 24/7 watching that child, I can't 100% say that you know for a fact that that did not happen. Okay, because you can think that you know somebody, but until you live with them, see them 24/7, you cannot 100%, put your name on the line and say you know for a fact that that situation did not happen. But now she's talking about the son. Let's continue.
And she didn't want anybody to know because she wanted to try to make it seem like my uncle was the bad guy because she wasn't getting what she wanted in the divorce. For you smart ladies out there who sat up there and thought to yourselves, oh, this cannot be true. This can't be, something that a woman would allow, which it's not. It's not something that a woman would allow. I am a victim of and I don't appreciate one bit of the accusations being put out there, especially not just because they're fake, not just because that they're out there just for clout, but because of the fact that this involves a family member of mine who I care about dearly. Multiple family members, if you want to put that out there, because the kids are my family too. The boys are somebody else's. The girls and the last baby are a part of my family.
Okay, so that would mean that obviously, so she had 2 sons when she came into the situation, and so the daughters and whom she's talking about these allegations are against are with the husband. Now, what I think is interesting so far is that basically this woman is trying to say that the divorce was already in Sue, right? So this is how she's making it seem like she had to divorce her husband because of this. This woman is saying something different. She's saying, no, they were already divorced. And because she wasn't getting what she wanted out of the divorce, she added this. Which, I'm not going to lie, it makes a little bit more sense in the story because, again, to hear that, now have a conversation, run, leave, and all this kind of stuff, the exact steps are a little bit different than I would have assumed how it would naturally go in that kind of situation.
And if they're being harmed in any kind of way, I definitely would want to stand up for them, for sure. But her son is the one that the baby first initially said that was touching her. My grandmother was changing the baby one day and she seen that it was red down there and she said that her brother did it. Now, when they went to court, the court did not believe what she was saying because Paloma had already ISIS had already put out a case against my uncle because my uncle was furious when he found out that her oldest son was touching the girls. So he went out and tried to, seek help to figure out what he should do about getting her son away from the girls so that they would no longer have to go through this. But as soon as he did that, ISIS went and took papers out on him claiming that he did it because she didn't want her son to go down for it.
This whole thing is foolishness, okay? Let's just be real. This whole situation is just foolishness, toxic, chaotic. It just sounds like some mess. But if what this woman is saying is true,
she says, I don't think she said it yet, but she says in the video too that what did she say? That the lady had abuse charges on her.
Yeah.
She says that the lady had abuse charges on her older 2 kids or something.
Yeah.
She had a case of abuse or neglect or abandonment or something with her older kids. So
allegedly.
Yeah. That's what she said. We don't have any way of, nobody's produced any evidence. Yeah. So again, like Reva said, this is a mess because all this is hearsay online.
Mm-hmm.
No police reports produced or shown.
Nope.
No evidences. Nothing. Just all hearsay, slander, or libel potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's lying, or everybody's telling the truth.
Hey, on that note, still, I'm gonna get off camera.
Okay, I wanted to show.
Y'all gonna let him finish it out.
Well, I wanted to show this because I wanted to show the sprinkle lady.
Yeah. Let's do that real quick.
Because I wanted to, and then we could just cut.
Yeah.
Because I wanted everybody to see her actually kind of. So they're saying some of the heat is starting to come back on her, and she's trying to basically walk it back and say like it ain't her fault.
Just
all the detriments to the sprinkle mentality.
If anybody marries
all the detriments to the sprinkle mentality.
If anybody marries somebody after 1 week, they dumb. I'm sorry. Sprinkle. If you dumb enough to do that, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry. But if you're sitting out there, you learned everything from me. Did you learn how to be smart? Did you learn how not to be desperate? You didn't learn from me? Did you hear when I said stop being desperate? Did you hear when I said don't be a pygmisha? Did you hear when I talked about background checks? Did you hear when I talked about all this other stuff? About not dealing with men if you have kids until they're old and grown enough to speak for themselves and be in school and whatnot. Did you not hear when I said all of that? Don't blame me. I tell people all the time, don't say my name if you are desperate and being pygmisha. Don't claim me. If you are desperate and you're not smart enough to get the bag, flip the money, have options. If you stupid, don't claim me. If your IQ is low, please don't claim me. I teach women to be smart, not desperate. If you're desperate, don't claim me.
So that was Shira 7.
Hey, she sounds like Rick James, don't she?
Desperate.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. But, so that's her. She's just, but I mean, even the sprinkle lady is saying what we have been saying.
Right.
If you got kids, you shouldn't be dating, let alone bouncing around from man to man.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not old enough to be in school or whatever, to talk, to tell you what's going on, probably should just, hang out and try to raise your kids and be stable. But the thing about it is you present, and so she's still got to have some blame in this, because you present this lifestyle, and the sprinkle lady presents this lifestyle and this fantasy, this idea that you can, get the bag and flip the money and, whatever. And life don't work like that. The sprinkle lady is making YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You know who don't make YouTube videos? Elon Musk.
Yep.
You know what he does do? He is on Twitter. You know why he on Twitter? That makes him money. Whatever crazy thing he says or does on Twitter makes him money.
Yep. If
you buy CNN or MSNBC, he'll be on there all the time doing crazy stuff, saying crazy stuff, because it will make him money. You know who else is never on YouTube? Jeff Bezos, the guy who owns Amazon.
Right.
Filthy, stinking rich. Bill Gates, never on YouTube. Warren Buffett, the guy who owns Zara, I forget his name, Carlos Slim in Mexico, never on YouTube. Mark Zuckerberg, never on YouTube. You see what I'm saying? So you have this idea of all these gurus who got all these ideas.
Right.
If you was really so rich, if you was really so wealthy, oh, you got all these people. Oh, yeah, I got this plan that I hope you make all this money, and I just wanted to share it with you. No, you don't. Because if you was rich, you wouldn't be thinking about me. You'd be somewhere living your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that rich people aren't, some of them ain't nice and friendly and want to just help. But vast majority of people are just thinking about their own lives, their own families. Unless you know them personally and you can strike up a real relationship with them,
right.
All they're concerned with is doing what they got to do for their own lives. They're not trying to save the world.
They're trying to keep themselves rich.
Yeah.
And if they trying to, if you hear, here's the thing: if somebody had to take, is selling to you how to get rich, that's because they trying to get rich.
Yeah. like even that Rich Dad Poor Dad book.
Right.
I read a little bit of it.
Yep.
But I heard like he made money. He was going broke. And he made so much money on that book.
Right.
Yeah, that it really that flipped his fortune. And so we need to understand that when we look at some of these people.
Right.
It's all great to fantasize and think, oh yeah, she got all these ideas. But why are you on YouTube making YouTube videos? Trying to be monetized, trying to accept super chats. Because this is your job.
Right.
Your job may be more glamorous than mine. Your schedule may be more free. You may be able to do what you want when you want to, opposed to somebody like me who works at a job that I got a bunch of time clock.
Right.
But the reality is, if you were so rich, if your plan was so foolproof, if your thing was so put together, you wouldn't be making YouTube videos. You see what I'm saying? You wouldn't be trying to convince other women to live this fantastical life that you have somehow, like what was that guy named Ty Lopez? Remember him?
Yeah.
I don't know who the dude is. I don't know where he went.
Yeah, he was the one with the bookcase.
Yeah. I read all these books and I got this Lamborghini. Like, bro, but where did you come from? And where did you go?
All that shit was some bullshit.
Yeah. That's all it is. They go to LA and they rent houses with these cars and walk around. You can rent these houses and stuff for hours at a time. And whatever's in the house, you can have it. And you can make up a whole fantasy about who you are. And if you pump a couple dollars into making YouTube videos, you can sell a course, or you can get more views on your channel and monetize, and then you're good to go. That's just what happens.
To me, you selling to the suckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just an updated get rich quick scheme.
Right. That's how. So going back to that, I watched the thing on Trump family and stuff. So Granddaddy Trump was the first one to come over, right?
Yeah, from Germany.
Right, from Germany. And so I think he went out west with the gold rush and shit. You know what I'm saying? But then he realized, like, you know what? Just digging in this water and all this shit ain't where it's at. How about I sell the tools, and you know what I'm saying? How about I sell the shit to the motherfuckers that's doing it? So you know what I mean? So that's how he got into business. You know what I'm saying? I think he had a hotel and everything. But he realized,
Did he do like prostitution stuff too. Like he had a
he had a brothel and shit like that too in that gear. But he realized, like, hey, you know what? I'll just sell to the suckers who trying to come out here to make, to dig for gold, and like you said. That would have been the equivalent of a get rich scheme. You know what I'm saying? But that's where you get the team of San Francisco 49ers in 1849. The gold rush. Motherfuckers was going up to the mountains and hills, searching, hey, somebody hit it rich. It's no different from cryptocurrency. All this, NFTs, you know what I'm saying? Like, it might be like a few mofos, like the first people to do it. Then they, you know what I'm saying? And now their job is to sell on you so you can pump up the coin.
By the time you get into it, you getting gold dust.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna sell you this land. And you go, you know what I'm saying? And you go out there, you buy it, you digging in there, you gonna go broke, man.
All the 5-pound nuggets.
All that shit's gone.
You sifting through sand and gold dust, trying to get you a half a quarter, a half a 16th of an ounce.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the reality.
Yeah, exactly. That's just over.
You remember everybody was all on the NFT. Oh, gotta get an NFT.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm sitting there like, but if you could just take a screenshot of an NFT, you got it.
Right.
Oh, well, I got the original, but what's the difference?
Right.
You paid all this money for a digital internet picture that I've got now because I screenshot it.
Right.
And now you don't hear about it at all no more. It was just a large money laundering scheme.
Yeah, really.
That the whole apparatus convinced the common man to get involved with in order for them to launder money quickly, randomly, and then poof.
Yeah, the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You got the first leg, and that's going to encourage them to get in, so to pump the shit up. You know, a pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme. You know what I'm saying?
What was that called? That with that Bankman-Fried, that FTX, that
cryptocurrency marketplace.
Bankman-Fried was giving all that money to the DNC, and they was giving it back to him.
Right.
And he was giving it to the different candidates. So, you know, all we could shut it down.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, you know, you can't like we had a show. You can't out-trap being black.
Right,
you know,
right.
We had a Black Girl Tragic with Kamala Harris before when the guy was talking about black women should marry white men in order to escape blackness. Can't do any of that. You need reparations. You need a
it's gonna take political organizing. You know what I'm saying? You know,
like we have talked about, and it would be cool. Maybe one of these days we got have a debate. But you look at the situation with Israel, right? Why, if it was just about hard work and determination, how come during the Nazi regime in Germany there were no Jewish presidents or no Jewish candidates running against Hitler for president? How come no Jewish people said, "Hey, I got a better idea and I oppose you," and they didn't stand up and just overthrow the Nazis by sheer force of will? Because the apparatus was set up to make sure that did not happen. It's no different than here.
Right.
When it comes to us over here in this country, they try to act like it's all about self-determination.
Right.
And all these people are just so rugged individualists, and they've got so much hard work and bootstrapperism, and we just lack all that. But when you look at countries throughout the world where people have been targeted specifically and oppressed, you find the same or similar patterns of progress and stagnation as you do within the Black community in America. Exactly the same, right? It is only through a tailored, specific program of redress that you can find success that you're looking for, that you need in order for your for any type of progress to actually be made. That's the only way for it to happen. You know what I'm saying? Well-wishing, bootstrapism, none of that, all of them sloganeering and all, none of that works. It's all a lie. It's all a lie.
Right. Then still, I think we can give our, our closings.
So, well, I'll let you get the closing out.
Oh man, I concur with everything. I think I can't say it any more elegant than what you just stated. I'm glad that we did this. We're probably going to try to, keep this up, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully going into 2025 or whatever, have something, new to say, to react to or whatever. It's just great to look at things from a more nuanced point of view and lens, and, and really get that good education out there. But as I always say, when I'm with the fellas, we have no permanent friends, we have no permanent enemies, we only have permanent interests. And hopefully, we've laid out the argument of why reparations is not something that is an option, but it's in my opinion, without it, we are going to further digress in this country. I really don't see a way out, to be honest with you, especially with the further generations. I mean, I just really don't. But peace and reparations from Adolph J. Rocky.
Yeah, and I want to second that again. I'm in concurrence. You look at the wealth stratification that is occurring and the consolidation and calcification of it. They just said the average age of home buyers in 2024 was 56. It is up from a year ago. I think the average age was 48 or 46. So every year, progressively, you're seeing homes are out of reach for the average American. You see the quality of life for the average American is decreasing. Brother J. Rocky talked about it earlier. You know, since the 70s, you've seen an increase in women in the workforce. Consequently, or concurrently with that, you know, the wage for the real wage for the average American worker has gone down since like 73.
Yes, yep.
Right. So you know, you double the workforce and you do not double the jobs available, and wages go down. That's not a coincidence. You know, like one of the things I say, there are no coincidences. So,
and you know, we're not advocating that women not be in the workforce,
right?
But ultimately, this whole idea that, you know, you're going to find, you know, that there's this abundance of men, right? No different than, like, again, what happened in the gold rush, right? All the gold is gone, you know, after, you know, this idea that you're gonna find this, you know, this rich, wealthy man, like there's enough of them to go around to where you could sell that to a general audience, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. You know, we're not in that time anymore where that was more, you know, attainable, right? Where that was the pretty much the standard framework. You know what I mean? Irregardless of what, you know, social economic level that you were on in America, right? And you know, there was at a point in time, and that primarily was for white men. You know what I mean? And for the white society, I mean, we did have blacks that, you know, I would be, you know, crazy to say, because like my grandmother on my mother's side never worked a day, you know, never worked for anybody. My grandfather had owned his own business, and then when they broke up, you know what I'm saying, she was on public housing, right? You know, she never worked for it. She never was a domestic, never did no job, but just raised my mother and aunts and uncles, right? You know what I mean? Whereas on the opposite end, my father's parents, my mother, my grandmother on my mother's side, she did do domestic work. In fact, that's how she met my grandfather. You know what I mean? So like, you know, you get there's examples of both existing, but far and large, the majority of Black America, you know, at that time, when it was when it was true that you could have a one income household and still make it in this country, those days are long gone. And like I said, it has really never been true in Black America, by and large, for the majority, really ever. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And I would recommend if anybody's interested, it's about an hour-long video. Elizabeth Warren, I believe she's on the Massachusetts School of Law, discussing her book, The Two-Income Trap. Because what happens is essentially you're feeding a cycle of consumerism.
Yeah.
And like Brother J. Rocky said, I'm not trying to advocate for women not to work. That's not my objective. Right? But we need to understand that if there's some way for us to taper our consumerist tendencies and simultaneously maintain a two-income household, so that you're not driving the need for a two-income household, but it can be used as a way to free you from the conditions of working overtime and long hours, but you could use that as a way to maybe pay your mortgage off sooner, or to save money that you could invest in ways that might allow you to financial freedom to make some decisions later down the line. You know, that's what you should be trying to do. But you know, that's where we'll be.
Yep.
You cannot trophy wife your way out of blackness.
Right. Can't sprinkle your way out. Or drizzle.
None of those slogans are going to work.
Nope.
It's just reparations. That's all it is.
That's our answer.
So, peace and reparations, folks. We hope you enjoyed the show.